I see. We are once more going to engulf ourselves in a boundless sea from which there is no getting out, ever. This is navigating without compass, stars, oars or rudder, in which we must need either pass from bank to bank or run aground or sail forever lost.
His eyes are weary. His beard is gray and long, wrinkles on his cheeks, and his frowns buried deep into his genius forehead. The year is 1632, and the Tuscan sun looms over the maroon rooftops of Florence. Purple herons lightly whistle in a cold summer breeze at his home in
Bello sguardo,
which roughly translates to
a nice view.
All is peace and quiet. But an old man will never rest. Admit it, there was no blood, no slashing, clinging swords, no heron disrupted the heron's song.
But nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Galileo Galilei he wasn't just a great mathematician. He was a brilliant philosopher. But foremost, he was a master in rhetoric. Galileo didn't convince his fellow scientists using scientific proof, evidence, or geometry. He convinced them with fallacies, rhetorical figures, and poetic language.
Rhetoric trumps science. Galileo had to use rhetoric with the church's barrel pointing at his back, never lowering its shot. Galileo had to convince. Science had to convince. And it still does. Some battles cannot be won with arguments. In the USA, more than 40% still believes in creationism. In the Netherlands, mothers and fathers in the Bible Belt refuse to vaccinate their innocent boys and girls against painful diseases. In Chechnya, we witness cold Gestapo agents brutally arresting gay lovers because their love is unnatural. If we want this to change, we don't need more proof, we need more eloquence.
But Galileo was speaking for a whole nation. And the US, the Netherlands, Chechnya, that's politics, religion, rhetoric to sway the masses. And yes, there will be setbacks, times and places in which the loudest idiot gets his way. But eventually, in the end, reason will stand and facts persuade. In science, we analyze, conclude, and discuss. We've been through the Enlightenment, we've read Descartes. In business, money will speak. You all know this, and you've been trained for this. Shareholders will hold you accountable. Pitches, competitions, and business plans, you will be roasted and questioned, and the con man will fall if he has no point just blabbering around. He will debunk his nonsense. Because at the right time, at the right place, when it really matters, words can't fool you, they can't trick you.
Or can they? Haven't we learned anything since Galileo?
Well, the year is 1953. And the revolution in biology is thawing. One of the biggest in centuries. This is the dawn of the genetic era. A revolution so profound that every school kid will learn about it. DNA. The air is thick with rhetoric. And in the midst of this turmoil are two confident young men with an idea. James Watson and Francis Crick. But they're not alone. In the US, a scientific giant is working on a model. And at King's College, they're doing the same thing. And all of them feel entitled. To them, Watson and Crick should be doing something else. It just isn't their project. It isn't their turf. So the two-man charge. The 25th of April, 1953, 3 articles are published about DNA. 2 long articles, technical, soulless text, heavy on logic and experiment, light on rhetoric, your typical scientific publication. And 1 short article, which would change the world in just 900 words, 1 sketchy figure, no formulas. They implicitly appeal to the beauty of their model. The double helix, a structure so pretty, it just had to exist, Watson said. There's 1 sentence. With 1 sentence, they paved the way for the replication of DNA, almost casually, off the cuff, as if they explained life in 1 sentence.
Oh, and by the way, it hasn't escaped our notice that the specific pairing we've postulated immediately suggests a possible copying mechanism for the genetic material.
Now that's rhetoric. That's why Watson and Crick own the double helix, and why the other 2 are history.
Their rhetoric persuaded, not their scientific proof, and the entire academic world fell for it. You fell for it.
Just as you fell for our rhetoric earlier this evening when we persuaded you, you would not be convinced by con man, by simple, short sentences. Shareholders will hold you accountable. Pitches, competitions, and business plans, you will be roasted and questioned. A barrage of simple, short sentences, each with the same length and a rhythm that kept pushing forward. So your critical minds had not a second to intervene.
But it's not your fault, though. It's not your fault that you fall in the rhetorical pits good orators dug. Blame our brains instead. As an example, let's take the following mathematical problem. Think quickly because you only get 2 seconds to solve it. A bat and a ball cost 1.10 euros. The bat costs €1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost?
The correct answer is 5 cents, of course. Most of you will have thought 10 cents. And the other smart half was thinking, it certainly isn't 10 cents. But don't be fooled. You were all thinking of 10 cents.
And that's exactly the point. This is how it works. The human mind and cognition are prone to 2 systems, which psychologist Daniel Kahneman describes as the automatic system 1 and the effortful system 2. System 1 monitors everything constantly and relies on its emotions. System 2, however, is rational and only intervenes when system 1 cannot cope. Let's make this more visual, more concrete. Let's say you're governed by Odie and Garfield. Odie is a hyperactive and amazingly stupid dog, which means that he's continuously active, making all decisions for us all the time, without thinking, relying entirely on his emotions and intuition. His favorite sport is jumping to conclusions. Garfield, however, is smart, intelligent, rational. But he is a couch potato. He's butt lazy, he doesn't like to work. He only intervenes when Odie gets stuck, for example, with difficult multiplication or with deep philosophical questions. And even when Garfield intervenes, he will make his intervention as efficient and effortless as he can. Let's take the bat and the ball problem from earlier. This is how you were misled. The moment we hear the following mathematical problem, Garfield gets up, ready to think, reluctantly, but he's ready though. But the moment the question is asked, Odie immediately suggests 10 cents, even before Garfield starts to think. Garfield hears Odie's suggestion, immediately stops thinking and says, okay, that's all right, that will do. And you all thought of 10 cents. And we don't even notice that this is happening. Because Garfield, the rational system 2, thinks he's in control.
So The Enlightenment and Descartes told us that rationality is in control, but it seems it rarely ever is.
No, it isn't. And of course rhetoric plays with this.
But we're biased, emotional, and there's nothing we can do about it. We're totally fucked.
Absolutely, and that's the case for both men and women, with or without high degrees or big paychecks.
But what if I could persuade them? What if I could persuade an audience by the way I structure my text? Could language itself persuade System 1? Could I fool these guys?
Well,
by the way my speech sounds.
I suppose it could, but I can't really think of an example for the moment.
Let's take Cicero, the Roman orator who humiliated and defeated conspirator Catilina in front of a fully packed Senate.
Quousque tanda butere, Catilina patientia nostra, quam diuetiam furis tus nos eludet, quat fines esse frenatic tabita audacia, nil ne te nocturnum praesidium palati, nil urbis vigiliae, nil timur populi, nil concursus bonorum omnium, nil hic munitissimus abendis senatus locus, nil aurora vultusque moverunt. Patere tua consilia, non sentis? Constrictam, iam morum omniam scientia tenere, coniurationem tuam non vides? Quid proxima, quid superiore noctegeris ubi fueris, quos convocaveris, quid conseliceperis, quem nostri ignorare arbitraris? O tempora, o mores.
I feel what Cicero tries to say, even if I don't understand his arguments. Catilina is guilty of treason, and that's all that matters. This rhythm is so good, System 1 likes it that much that it must be true. And that's how eloquence persuades.
And those of you who've studied Latin will know this text. You've analyzed it, but we are never shown how to grasp the full strength of it. School teachers show us how to rationalize, analyze, and compute. But the fact is, we usually don't rationalize, analyze, or compute. We just respond intuitively. So what good is education if it doesn't direct our attention towards rhetorical strategies and our own cognitive biases? We need to teach rhetoric again. Our children must learn how to speak, how to persuade, how to acknowledge the fact that rhetoric trumps content, because forewarned is forearmed.
Because here's a hard fact for you. If you want to convince, content does not matter. It's not what you say, but how you say it.
And that's a fact, and an easy one, true. But instead of feeling depressed about it, we should embrace it.
We are neither rational nor analytic, but emotional and lazy. Use it. The only way you'll ever sell a good point, a moral, a virtuous one, is exactly the same way you'd sell a vicious one.
If we want to prevail, if we want to convince, we have to learn how to speak.
And it starts now.
The good ideas are up to you. You pick your crusades.
We are your arms dealer choice. Here are the bullets.